Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today we're going to go over how I came up with the design for my food forest. Now I'm really excited. We are progressing on our way to installing the food forest, and first I wanted to go through the steps that you need to go through for any new design. Now the very first step that you need to take is to actually have a design. Now it doesn't have to be fancy and be on the kind of software that I'm using. So as you can see right here, I am using Pro Landscape. Now it's a professional software. It's very much mid-range. It's not one of the best you can get. It's also not one of the worst, but it really fits my needs. I will link up here my playlist of videos I've done on design, and you will see there how I've came up with the measurements for this, how I was able to take the Google Maps image and scan it into my software, and all of the technical things I did to come up with the design. So first is design. Second is irrigation, and my next video will be about irrigation and how we have done that. Irrigation is vital to put into place after you do the design, because then you'll know where you need to put the drip irrigation, where you can put spray heads, and you definitely want to keep those separate, and we'll go over that in the next video. But anyway, let's look at this design, and I will kind of talk you through a little bit about how I came up with it. So this is my property. I'm on a corner. This is north, this is south, east, and west. And as you can see on the south side, there's not a lot. You know, this side over here gets the south sun, but everything else is the north of the property. But this is also west, so because this is unobstructed through here, it gets full western sun, plus the south sun comes over it. So this was the perfect place to put my gardens. Now, most of this design was put into place before I moved into the property. This hillside and everything that was on it, it was mostly there when I moved in. This area was grass. We had grass here. We had grass all through the front yard, and it was pretty much a blank slate. I did go a little bit backwards, and I wasn't doing design at that time, but it's turned out pretty good. So the first thing you need to do is observe your property. Look where the water is. Where does the sun shine? Where are the slopes? Slopes and sun and water are all vital to growing plants. So I looked at all of that and figured, even though this is a slope right here, I cut my garden beds into the slope so that I could water them. But this receives full sun. It was open. It's not blocked by trees or anything. So this was a perfect area to put garden beds. This is a very, very steep slope through here, you know, on my back hillside. So what I needed is just something to stop erosion and block the view of the neighbor's house and the neighbor's view of my house. So we have a lot of tall stuff in this area. Now the rest of it was basically just grass. You know, I had 3 kids and 3 dogs, and they utilized all of this lawn area. This area through here on the bottom south side is a dog run. We have a fence to keep the dogs in and away from everything else. We just barely are switching this area over to a gravel bed because we don't need grass for this entire area. Now the only reason this area is grass is because this is also a steep slope, and any mulch or anything that I put on there would just be pulled down to the bottom when the dogs run up and down the hill. It would be better to not have it grass if it wasn't a dog run. Now, so when you're actually starting design from the beginning, the very first thing you need to look at, and I'll link another video up here on localscapes and what that is, and localscapes will work for any property in any city or state. But the first thing you need to look at is, where do you need grass? Where are you going to use grass? Where is it going to be useful? And make sure that the grass is no more than 30% of your landscape. So the only place I'm going to really need grass is in the middle of my backyard. I don't need grass in the front. Now Utah's going through a big drought. It's been going through drought for several years, and I really would like to reduce the amount of grass I have. Plus I hate mowing and I hate fertilizing. So I don't need grass out in my front yard. Now if I did need grass out in the front yard, you know, I could do a swath, you know, kind of a semicircle swath up here. Keep it small, but it serves as a central open shape. Now, I said the first step of a localscape or any design process should be to decide where you're going to need the grass. And the second is to figure out where your open spaces are going to be. You've seen a lot of maybe xeriscape properties where it's just really busy. There's a ton of different plants and there's no place to rest your eyes because it's so busy. Well, if you have an open space, then you have a spot to rest your eyes. So my open space, instead of grass, is going to be this large pea gravel. I haven't decided what material it's going to be, but I think it'll probably be pea gravel or chat or something like that. Something that will be easy to maintain in the winter and will just serve as an open place where I can possibly put a bench or something like that. After you've chosen where to put your grass, you're going to choose your activity areas. Now, one activity area is my garden beds up here. Another one could be a playground area for kids. Another one could be, just a seating area like this may become, or even a fire pit or a kitchen. Anywhere where you're going to have a gathering space. It's activity areas, gathering spaces. Those are the next areas that you decide. Right here, I've decided I'm going to leave this area open for either chickens or a greenhouse or a shed. And then I'm going to have 2 garden beds right here. So once again, you decide your central open space and your grass area. Then you decide your activity areas and gathering areas. And then everything else is going to be plants. It's going to be planting beds and drip irrigation. So I decided that I would like most of my plants to be either edible or to draw in pollinators, some sort of useful plant as well as being beautiful. Now, I will also, like I said, I will link up at the top a video that talks about design. And look at the video that talks about color and texture. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put it up on the screen in just a minute. But there's a video that talks about color and texture. And it really helps to have colors and textures flow throughout your landscape, to be repeated throughout your landscape. This design isn't completely finished with the plants because it will be evolving as I go. The plants are less important than the hardscape and the open spaces. So as I go, I will choose plants that are edible, plants that are useful, plants that have similar colors and textures that I can sprinkle throughout the landscape so that you can see that color repeated. It'll draw your eye through the landscape more. But anyway, that's how I came up with my design. Pathways are very important. You need to look where the pathways are going. Are they useful? What are they going to be used for? Put them in areas that you already use. This seems like an odd little pathway right here, but I use that path a lot to get through my yard because I like to go up this sidewalk up here and weed and push my grapevines back through my slotted fence, and then I come back around through here. So I needed a path through here. My driveway is narrow, so if cars are parked in it, then it's hard for people to walk up, especially when it's snowed. It's hard for people to walk up to my front door, so I needed another path through here. So this is the design that I came up with. It's the best that I could do so that I could also leave some of my more mature plants that I didn't want to move or remove. So this is a shorter video, because like I said, I have done many other videos on design, but this is how I have come up with my landscape design. It really helps avoid problems later because as you look at it on paper and walk through it in your head, sometimes I'll take my design in my hands and walk through my property and say, okay, I put this here and this here. Oh, wait a minute, that's not going to work because we need to do something else. So think about it for a while. Give yourself a while to observe the conditions on your property. Draw up your design, put in your irrigation, then the hardscapes, and then you can start planting. So I'm excited to take you through the continuation of this adventure. We're getting closer and closer to being able to start planting. I actually have a contractor scheduled to come in July to do the hardscape parts. Now I've just got to figure out how to save enough money between now and then to make sure that it's paid for. I can actually, I'll get it paid for. The irrigation is almost done. the only parts that are left are the parts that I'm going to do, so I'm going to take you on that adventure through the next video, show you what we did there, and then we get to plant. I'm so excited. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.